Hello, fairy friends. I am back with a how to and a how to not do a restoration of a composition doll. I collect composition dolls along with all sorts of other dolls. I can do restorations on vinyl dolls. I've done repaints on vinyl dolls, but I always buy my composition dolls in a good state because I've never had the confidence to try to restore one until I got on YouTube and found a couple of lovely ladies who are doing this exact work and are willing to share their knowledge. And those are Tammy Laskey and Dodi's dolls. So here we go. My doll here came to me in pretty poor state, all in pieces. I've already rubbed my X-Acto blade. I've rolled the handle along and gotten rid of all of those loose pieces and flicked off any that were stubborn but were eventually going to fall off. Now, what you're seeing here is me filling in the larger chunks. And I kind of did this out of order because I started this one patch just to see if it would work, and then I went to my acetone and took off the face paint. So honestly, probably should have done the acetone first, but I jumped the gun and wanted to see if this polymer clay would work. Okay, so here's how to not do your restoration. Do not use polymer clay. I decided to use it because I'm familiar with it and it's what I sculpt my dolls from. I knew that I could put the composition doll pieces in the oven to cure because I have put paper, fabrics, wood, all sorts of different things except for plastics. I have not put those in the oven with my sculptures, and nothing's ever happened to the paper. Nothing's ever caught on fire or discolored. So I knew that the composition could handle it. I've even put resin in the oven. That was another thing. It just makes a little bit of an odor for a little bit. What I hadn't counted on and figured in was that there would be moisture inside the doll, and I successfully used the polymer clay in filling those cracks. It filled and it stayed, and it's wonderful. However, the moisture in the doll made more cracks appear. Not giant ones, but it made the process happen faster than what I guess would happen during the natural aging process, what happens to dolls in extreme heat and cold. So I had to redo this. So looking at me blending this in, I just want you to imagine paper clay, because the paper clay is air dry and it behaves almost exactly the same way as the polymer clay. So I have kept this part in, even though it is, I wanted to be honest, that is polymer clay I'm working with. But if you were to use the paper clay, you would be fine. It would behave exactly the same. Now I'm going through and building up the mouth, because that was a piece, and you can see this is where you don't see it on camera, but I've used the acetone on the face and filled in that, and also the eyes, because the eye it had that crack on the corner of the eye, so I wanted to build that back up and make sure she was nice looking. And one thing that's a little bit difficult that I found is judging your sculpting when you have two different materials. You have to really look at that and make sure that when it's all one color, when you go to paint it, that it's smoothed out. I'm used to the polymer clay and it's all one color. It's a little bit difficult, I have to say, using the two different materials. And as I said, you would use the paper clay And you really have to make sure that's smoothed out. The polymer clay does sand. You can sand that, and the air dry clay can sand. So if you didn't get it exactly smooth, you have another chance after it hardens. So that's just me double checking everything, being very nitpicky because I don't want to add to her problems. Okay, here's where I'm building up the back of her neck. And even though this wouldn't show, I wanted it to be nice. I fixed her torso as well. She had some cracks in her torso. But I think really with this neck area, she would have eventually broken some more there. So she's a little bit better off, hopefully, for a few more years, even though this was not the absolute best restoration job. However, it is the best that I can do now, and we all have to start somewhere. Here I am sculpting the toes, which this wasn't really that hard for me. I mean, I don't want to brag. I don't want to, that sounds really rude, but I sculpt dolls, so this wasn't hard for me to build up the toes where they were missing. Plus I had reference. There was her other foot had toes except for her big toe, as you can see here. So building up the toes wasn't an issue for me. But if you don't sculpt at all, it could be challenging, but you need to just take your time. If you're wanting to do a good job and have something you can be proud of, if you get frustrated, which I do, I am very impatient sometimes, just put the pieces away. If you have a tray or something to set them on, then just go back. And what I'm using here is a little tool. I use this sculpting my dolls. It's a little cuticle pusher that's at drugstores, you know, where the nail trimmers and things are. So that's a good thing to have on hand. Kemper has a bunch of sculpting tools as well. Here is her before face and her after, and she is by no means perfect. But as a first attempt, I'm satisfied with her. Yes, I wish I could have done better, and I could go back maybe one day and redo it, but for now, I have other projects. I'm going to leave her as is. She was very fun to paint. The eyes and the lips, I kind of looked at the Patsy dolls for reference, even though she's got a little baby body. I made her eyes simple. Her eyebrows are a little bit off. They're not exactly the same, but her hair with the little curls was very fun to put in a little shadow and some highlights. And all in all, she came together beautifully, better than I could have hoped for as my first attempt. So I'm very thankful it went all together. Thankful for Tammy Laskey and Dodi's Dolls for always being helpful and putting in information in the comments. She's going to get dressed in a Irish outfit. I will post that in my St. Patty's Day video I'm going to make. Tammy Laskey has a challenge for the month of March. So next time you see her, she will be in a very pretty green, and she will look like a little Irish lass, hopefully. So thank you for watching, and please like this video and subscribe for more things like this. Thank you.